Welcome to Creepypasta Weekly, where I read and review a random creepypasta from the Creepypasta Wiki. Today, we will be reading The Tire Man. Enjoy. In the spring of 1992, I was 15. I was at my friend Dan's house with some other friends named Ken and Marley. Dan had a big backyard, but most of it was forest. Luckily, he knew the place pretty well and took us for a walk. Dan was leading the way, about 15 feet ahead of us, while I was with Marley, and Ken was about 5 feet behind us. He told us that we could stop somewhere and have some grub. Ken brought some Reese's Pieces and some trail mix. As we walked, we saw a playground. It was about 35 feet ahead of me, but Dan was closer. It was very gloomy. In fact, pretty depressing. Not just the chipping paint, the pine cones and the trees around it, but the way it was set up. That was very depressing. It wasn't organized like a normal playground. The jungle gym was off to the side, with a not-so-merry-go-round in the center. The reason why I say that is because the darn thing was on a complete slant and could not be, for the love of God, spun. And a few springy animals that you could rock back and forth on. Anyway, Dan had a seat on the plastic border of the playground. Right as he had called us to have a seat, I started to notice he had lost some color. Mainly in his face, but it was noticeable in other places too, like his arms. Now, when you stepped over the plastic ring into the playground, you'd start to feel a bit cold, and you'd go pale. I assumed it was due to the fact that the wind had a direct entrance through the top of the tree line into the playground, and the paleness was just a byproduct of the cold wind. Other things I noticed after a bit is there was really no direct entrance to the playground, no pathway or any sign of human evidence that would use it. We were all sitting down, eating our Reese's Pieces. I had got up to explore the playground a little bit. I wish I'd never done that, because what I saw was just plain disturbing. There was those springy animals with frowns and X's on their eyes, implying that they're dead. The thing is, it looked as if they were painted over. The next thing was the merry-go-round. Again, it was just terribly built, but there were chalk drawings on the base plate that depicted things like beheading, mostly drawings of babies and children, dismemberment, and total mutilation. But these drawings looked as if they were drawn by 3-year-olds, not teenagers or some psycho in his 40s. And the last, most horrifying thing I had ever seen was this yellow slide. The yellow slide had been deformed, as if heated up with a lighter. And in perfect rows, there were X-Acto knife blades, pushed up through the melted slide. Perhaps the most horrifying thing was that there were burgundy stains, perhaps dried blood, on the knives. The slide was covered in dried blood too, and at the bottom of the slide there were blood stains and bloody footprints, leading back to the ladder on the jungle gym and back down the slide. And these footprints were repeated, as if it had been done more than once. The shoe prints were all the exact same, and on the other side of the slide was written in blood, "Repeat, repeat, repeat, pay your price in flesh and blood." We left that place, running back to Dan's house, faster than anyone could have imagined. We never in our lives told our parents, and most of all never mentioned that place to anyone. No police, no kids at school, not even my wife. I had forgotten about it, well, up until last week when I turned on Fox News. They said they had found 2 dead kids in a kitchen in South Carolina. One was 4, the other 2, whom had, from what their evidence had told them, repeatedly used a food blender to mutilate their arms and legs, and written on the wall, in their blood, was "Repeat, repeat, repeat, back for more." A further investigation showed that the blood smeared on the wall had a fingerprint. The fingerprint was of a man named Derry Reynolds, and they said they had been looking for him. Derry Reynolds was our religion teacher in high school. He had taught all of us the same year, and he had always tried to tell us not to visit the Tire Man's sanctuary. Specifically to Dan, for some reason, I never used to know what that meant. Lots of people assumed it was just a scary joke, or he was just losing his marbles. It's starting to make sense now. I'm starting to think that the Tire Man's sanctuary was that playground. During the spring of 1992, he mysteriously disappeared. I tried to contact Dan, but it turns out he had been captured by insurgents in Iraq and hadn't been heard from. He was presumed dead. They thought they had executed him or something. But they say 2 years ago there were rumors about him killing himself in the prison he was held captive in, repeatedly banging his head on the wall with hard-hitting force until he cracked his skull and gouged as much of his own brains out as he could before he died on the spot. Something similar happened to Ken and Marley too. It turns out they had gone together, and Ken reminded Marley of the day in the forest. When he brought it up, Marley had started apparently saying, "Repeat, repeat, repeat," and continued to gouge out her own eyes, and smashed Ken with a lamp in their living room, killing him. This case was called the Blind Marley Murder Trial. Marley had to have surgery, but could not get her vision back. She was killed during the trial when she was screaming "repeat, repeat, repeat," and tried to rip out her lawyer's throat out, only partly accomplished. She was shot in the neck by a guard at the trial, was still standing choking on the bullet, and was shot 3 times in the head and collapsed. Moral of the story is, don't go in the playground in the forest behind Dan's house under any circumstance. No exceptions. Don't know where it is? Good. Now it's been 20 years since then. It's spring, and I've been filing my nails every day now. I draw blood too much, and I've already lost 1 finger for good. My doctor thinks I have some sort of obsessive compulsive disorder, but it's not that I can't stop. I have to do it. I need to do it. I must play flesh and blood, and I must repeat. Now, this was a pretty long story. It wasn't that great. You can kind of tell that I was quite monotone throughout the entire thing. I tried to make it sound like I was reading a bit more lively, but that wasn't working. The problem is, I don't know. It's not too overdone. It's actually one of the more original concepts when it comes to creepypastas. But I've seen quite a few of these before. This one is definitely not one of the better written, or actually better conceptual stories. What I mean is, they go to a creepy playground, and all of a sudden, 20 or about 15 to 20 years later, all of a sudden they're reminded of and then started killing themselves because of this. There's no mean or there's no cause or reason to why they're doing this. It's just they snap, and it just so happens to be the 4 of them that all of them went to the same playground with this same traumatic experience, only just to kill themselves or do something crazy like filing their fingers back until they lose them. Now, I don't understand it. Why? There needs to be more of an explanation or a better reason for this, like blood. The only reason why they did this is because they seen a message in blood. I don't know. I'd have to say this is like a 3 out of 5, maybe a 7 out of 10. It's not that great. It's not bad, but it's not that great. It's a really long one. That's what she said, I know. But still, So yeah, I'm extremely tired right now. I gotta go to bed. So, have a good one. Thank you for watching, or listening actually, and have a good day.